And welcome to week 29 of the golfing year and the most listened to Australian golf podcast, Talk Birdie to Me. Got to thank our wonderful partners, Ping. They'll help you play your best. They certainly have for Nick O'Hearn and an increasingly improving Nick O'Who. See your local golf shop or professional and arrange a Ping club fitting. And Frank and the team at the new Watch My Numbers app. It's the most powerful database golf app in the world. You can download from the App Store or Google Play and play smarter by using your data. And the Golf Clearance Outlet. They're in Melbourne, Sydney, Brisbane, Perth, and online at golfclearanceoutlet.com.au. Oh, and if you haven't joined their membership club, GCO Live, check it out. Lots of great stuff. Discounts, early bird specials. It's a ripper. Now, former world number 16 Nick O'Hearn and former Tour Pro Mark Allen. This is Talk Birdie to Me.
So halfway through last week, I figured we'd start with Keegan Bradley getting a little bit of payback from Full Swing on Netflix. I would never believed he was going to be the captain of the US team at any stage, even if he didn't get trodden on last year. That's not that. Do you reckon that's set me back a fair way last week?
He was surprised. He said he hadn't even had a conversation with anyone about captaincy. He was still thinking about playing his way in.
Yeah.
Which he still wants to.
Last week, that's where I thought we'd be starting anyway.
A little bit happened since.
Well, a little bit. My God. Stephanie Kyriacou, a young woman in her first or second year, gets her first final group in a major and shoots 67 and loses.
She was leading going into that final round.
Yeah, she shoots 67 and loses. You know, when I woke up on Monday morning, I flicked the radio on and I was waiting for sport. The only bit I got was Adam Scott came second. Right. So I knew that Steph didn't win the Evian, which disappointed me. Then I looked at the deal. You're telling me that the chip shot that she didn't hit so well
on 17.
On 17,
she had the lead with 2 to go.
And that was the only bogey she made for the day.
Yes, correct. She had the lead with 2 to go, pulled a tee shot left on 17, came up short of the green. Yeah. And funnily enough, I didn't see the chip because they were in commercial.
Good on you.
And all of a sudden, she's got this chip, and they said, well, she just chunked the first one. I'm thinking, oh, okay, well, would have been nice to see. But she ended up making a great bogey. Yeah. Again, pulled a tee shot left. Last two, she hit the ball beautifully all day. Struck the ball nicely, very solid. Last couple of tee shots, a bit squirrely, hit them left. And maybe some nerves played into that. You're leading your first major, 2 holes to play. And
the richest tournament in women's golf, or is it the US Open, the richest tournament?
I don't think it is.
It's one or the other. I mean, it's either first or second, the Evian.
It has the best views, I will say that.
It has the best views. The golf course, if you put it anywhere else, wouldn't probably rate a mention. But because it's up there in the hills, it kind of looks like a pretty nice place to play, really.
Next to Lake Geneva, yeah. Well, Lexi Thompson, she skips it every year because she hates it. It's a major, and she skips it because the course isn't that popular amongst the players, from what I've heard. Yeah. So, but they run a great event. But all credit to Ayaka Furue, the Japanese player, 5 under the last 5, eagled the last to win the golf tournament.
5 under the last 5.
Birdies on 14, 15, 16, and then hit a beautiful iron shot in on 18, which kind of got lucky. It dove. You know, she was in the light rough, hit one of those little divers, little diving bomber, and hits the upslope at the front, skips up to about 15 feet, rolls the putt in.
Yeah, okay.
Beautiful.
I had a look at, when I saw the leaderboard, I went back and had a look at what she'd been doing, and I looked at the last couple of majors. I think she had a tied 19th at the US Open, and at the LPGA, she finished in the top 10, might have been 6th. So she has some decent form coming in, the Japanese player, but bugger that. I mean, I wanted Steph to win.
Yeah, so
I really wanted her to win. And for her to win a major, then all of a sudden, you know, you've got Steph, a major winner, and then you've got our other 2 girls, Hannah and Minji. I mean, if she'd won, we would have started this podcast saying that we've never been in a stronger position. We probably haven't been anyway. We've never been in a stronger position as far as women's golf is concerned in Australia. Never.
Yeah. No, everyone talks about Hannah and Minji, obviously, and Gabby coming through. And Steph's been there in the wings. Remember she had that massive win years ago when she was an amateur, won by 8 in Bonneville or something like that. And I was very impressed watching her. She was very solid tee to green. The putting looked excellent. Laura Coughlin, the third player in the group, they were playing the final three. She was the one who was leading the whole way, and then she made a couple of late bogeys. Steph stepped up when she needed to. All of a sudden, she got a 2-shot lead, and then this Japanese girl who really wasn't in it for most of the way, she just lights it up on the last 5, and you go, hats off to her. Well done.
Eagles the last to win a major.
Not bad, is it?
And a hell of a lot of money. Good luck to her.
We almost had the double, though.
Yeah.
With Scotty.
What did Scotty shoot?
Scottish.
Yeah, what did he shoot in the last round?
I think Scotty shot 67. I'll have to look that up.
Because, to be honest with you, I was watching my mate Ludvig.
He was disappointing,
64, wasn't he? 64, 65. And my feeling was, don't go 1 week early, you idiot.
Oh, come on.
Don't go 1 week early because I wanted to back you next week. Because I figured he'd be 20s or 15s or something.
You were selfishly thinking about the odds.
That's right. That right? Okay. That's exactly right.
So you want Ludvig's performance to be in sync with your betting
That's right.
Strategy?
Then, yes.
Okay.
That's exactly right.
Okay, gee.
Because I don't think you can win 2 in a row. I think but now, you shoot 3 over in the last round. And then I looked at the leaderboard. Every single player in the top 25 have shot not even par. They're all under par. And he shot 3 over par. I've got to go back and have a look because, the 3 over on the back 9, what was he doing? I mean...
Yeah, he was just missing greens and
not getting up and down.
Not getting up and down, basically. And he just didn't look quite himself. Scotty ended up shooting a 3 under 67 with a double and 2 bogeys, by the way. So he got off to a bit of a rough start.
What about Bobby MacIntyre?
Bobby Mac, he came home like a house on fire because he wasn't doing much either. He was 1 over through his round through 10 holes, and then he got the luckiest break you'll ever see.
What happened?
On 16. So he's birdied 14, gets on the 15th, and he's 2 back with 4 to play on Scotty. Scotty's got a...
15's a par 3?
15 is a par 4, 16's a par 5.
Right.
So Scotty's got a 2-shot lead, 4 to play. He ends up birdieing that hole.
Yeah.
And Bobby Mac drives it in the right rough, and it's like the worst lie you'll ever see. Worst lie. It was just horrible. He takes a practice swing next to the ball, and as he follows through, he goes, "Oh, hang on, I can feel something under my foot."
No.
Sprinkler.
No way.
He said, and you could hear this all on the TV. You could actually hear what he's talking to his caddy. He says, "I didn't even know it was there. The only reason I can feel it is because I'm wearing steel spikes. Otherwise, I wouldn't have known it was there."
Hang on, he's wearing steels.
He's wearing steels.
I didn't. All right,
so he calls in the referee and says, "Look, I wouldn't have known this is here, but have a look. This is where I'm taking my stance." The ref goes, "Yeah, sprinkler there, no problem at all." Gets relief. Okay.
What sort of a lie does he give?
It was horrible before. He's wedging it out, wedging it on. It was a par 5. Now he's got a good lie. He pulls out iron, hits it to 6 feet, mates eagle.
Go away.
Mates eagle.
Go away.
So now he's tied with Scotty with two to play. And Scotty has a good look at birdie on the last. He hits it about 15 feet. Doesn't hit the best putt. Bobby Mac holds a nice par putt on 17, the par 3 after running it way past. 18, he hits a great shot into 20 feet. And you could see the moment unfold before you. You just kind of had that feeling, he's going to make this.
Yeah.
And he thought he left it short. Almost a bit of a Rory last year when he thought he missed it. He thought he'd left it short. Just topples in it and the whole place goes bananas.
It's not often you're owed one, but considering
he was
owed one from last year after Rory hit the 2-iron, the 10-foot and hit a bad putt and it went in.
And he, like all of us Australians, he said, "This is the one I want. My Scottish Open," he said, "this is my major, outside of the 4, obviously.
Yeah.
But this is the one he's always wanted to win, always dreamt of winning." His dad was there. Remember, he caddied for him at the Canadian. He wasn't on his bag, but the parents were there, and it was a hell of a celebration that night, I'm sure.
You've just raised something, and you're the perfect person to speak to about it.
Okay.
Because I've always wondered what's going on. We have been a soft spike society for so long now that it's not funny. I mean, I reckon, what I'm going to say, 20 years? 20 years worth of trying to get rid of metal spikes because of the damage it does to the greens. And, of course, if you're trying to keep away poa grass, which is the winter grass, which is some golf courses think it's evil. Some golf courses love poa. They think it's great. But when areas thin out on the greens, that's when that green is stressed, and that's when the poa comes through. So the spikes were always deemed that put stress on the greens and put some grasses in that they didn't want.
Sure.
Tiger Woods wore spikes.
Mm-hmm.
Metal. When I say spikes, metal spikes.
Not anymore. I don't think.
He was for a long, long time.
Yeah, he was for a while. Mickelson always wore spikes.
Mickelson wore spikes.
I think he probably still does.
JT, influenced by Tiger Woods, wears spikes. There's only, I would say a dozen players. Now you tell me Bobby MacIntyre is wearing spikes.
Yeah, I didn't know. So
why haven't the biggest tours in the world gone to no more metal spikes? Because what would your estimates be? Here in Australia,
the guy who I thought would wear
it's almost
spikes,
100.
Who doesn't is Scottie Scheffler. The amount of sliding he does around.
Yeah, that's right. So the tournaments that we broadcast, 100% of them would be wearing soft spikes or no metal spikes. There wouldn't be one player in the field wearing metal spikes. So why has it taken so long for the US Tour and the DP World Tour to blanket ban these things?
Probably because you said that name before. Tiger Woods wore spikes. And you're not going to disagree with what Tiger wants. If he says, which I don't know if he has over the years, said, look, this is what I'm wearing. You better not ban these things because I'm your golden ticket.
I guarantee. And he's beaten Tiger Woods twice in match play, and now he's beaten down on him about the metal spikes.
I'm not beating down on him. I'm just
But
saying.
I think you're spot on.
Yeah.
There is only one person keeping metal spikes alive in this world, and it's Tiger Woods.
I don't know.
For all the reasons you just said.
Well, I don't know if he still wears them. I'm not sure. So,
jeez, I tell you what, I remember Steve Elkington. Now, Steve Elkington...
he used to wear the longest spikes ever. Cause
that's right.
If I ever played behind Steve or Phil Mickelson, it was a shocker.
It was a nightmare playing behind Steve Elkington.
And that was when you couldn't pat down spike marks.
That's exactly right. And I'm sure this will get back to Steve Elkington. And Stevie, I love you. The last time you had your best finish in Australia, in the 92 Australian Open, I had my best finish in the Australian Open too. So I always think we've got something in common. Right? But if you're hearing this, Stevie, we'd love to talk to you. But yes, playing behind Steve was a nightmare because he had the extra long ones.
Yes.
And what sort of a person gets extra long ones, mate?
Especially the way he swung it too. His feet were so quiet.
Yeah, that's
rhythmical.
Right.
Maybe that's the reason they were so quiet.
So how long do you reckon his were?
Well, I think you were allowed to have quarter-inch spikes, and I reckon he had half-inch spikes made especially for him.
That's a long one.
Yeah, so and it did make a difference. And like Nick was saying, Dan, once upon a time you couldn't tap down spike marks. These days you can. And by the way, it's the greatest thing that's ever happened to golf. That and being able just to leave the flag in, I reckon. Yeah, just two fabulous rules.
Really good change.
Make it easy. You know, it's funny, we're talking about this. On the weekend, I had the flag tendered for the first time for 5 or 6 years.
Why did you have it tendered?
Well, I'm glad you asked.
Okay.
It's because it was the 17th hole at Kingston Heath. If you haven't played it, it's a blind second shot.
Yep.
And they've got this huge
longest flag
in. And I had a really long putt. Okay. But we had a group right up our bum.
Mm.
So the group didn't hit up on us while I had a really long putt. I had it tendered, so the guy was holding the flag, but holding it really on the side.
Oh, right. Okay.
So that
kept it low, so they couldn't see the top of the flag.
And then we were walking to the next screen. I said, "When's the last time you had the flag tendered?" and that was, we couldn't think of it. The whole group, because these days if you've got a really long putt, you just leave it in.
A few years ago.
Anyway, a couple of good rules.
How'd your putt go?
2 putted.
No,
shot 71.
Ooh, nice playing around there, by the way, especially in the cold weather at the moment.
Yeah. Anyway, hey, some big news in the world of club golf. Some enormous news between Huntingdale Golf Club, my old home, and your favourite, Metropolitan, where you've had some amazing success.
Some good memories there.
So, yeah, again, if you're not familiar with the two golf courses, there is just a tiny little road that separates these joints. I mean, if you're ever going to have two courses amalgamate, then Huntingdale and Metropolitan Golf Club were always the one.
So how long ago was this first brought up? You're a Huntingdale member back in the day. Yeah, so, I mean, that was what I heard. I've been hearing that forever. These are the two clubs that should amalgamate.
Yes, so that is true.
Why has it not happened
previously? I think because Metropolitan was always considered a far superior golf course. Mm-hmm. And probably the Metropolitan members, probably for a little while, they might have even thought it was a far superior club. And good luck to them. I reckon Huntingdale's probably made the approach, a handful of times in the 30 years that I was a member there. A little birdie told me that for the first time ever, Metropolitan approached Huntingdale. And I wouldn't be surprised at all. We did a bonus pod with him because OCM and Michael Cocking are doing the full redo. I mean, if you have a look at what they're about to get, it's going to be a far superior golf course than what was on offer. I tell you, if you're a Huntingdale member or a Metropolitan member, I think you've got reason to be really happy that you're about to have two golf clubs to play.
Very excited, yeah. It'd be interesting how they do it if it all goes ahead, which clubhouse they'll use, the positioning. Will OCM all of a sudden change some of the holes over there according to that, or who knows?
Well, they're really interesting questions.
All up for points for discussion. Should we do a bonus pod?
Well, if we can get Greg Smith, who's the captain, current captain of Huntingdale, and the current captain of Metropolitan Golf Course as well.
Campbell, yeah.
Okay, we'll get Campbell and Greg. If we can get both of those two sitting down together, I would love nothing more to do a bonus pod with those guys to see what they have planned. I think the one thing that I saw in the announcement, this makes a lot of sense. Like we saw at Peninsula Kingswood, it's an awfully long name. I mean, it should just, honestly.
What's PK?
It should just be, I know, well, thankfully they've shortened it to PK, but it should just be called Peninsula Golf Club. And, Kingswood, I know you've got a wonderful background and history in golf, but, just make it easy for us. I love what they're proposing, which is just to call both golf courses will be under the banner of the Metropolitan Golf Club.
Oh, okay. Not Metrodale or something like that?
No, not Metrodale, no. The crazy name. So this is where it's been very grown up, and I applaud the Huntingdale Golf Club side of things. The club will be known as the Metropolitan Golf Club, and you'll have the Metropolitan course and the Huntingdale course.
Right.
How easy. So simple.
Love it.
Just so beautifully simple. I mean, I guess that's what you do. We've got the north and south at Peninsula Kingswood, where there are two clubs. You've got the east and west at Royal Melbourne, where you've got two clubs. Where else we got two clubs in this country of ours?
13th Beach.
13th Beach. So you got the beach and the creek.
Beach and the creek, yes. Yeah. And they got a little par 3 9-holer down there.
Yeah, that's right. So they're always titles, but I think that one is just so clean and makes so much sense. Well,
the National has 54, although they got 72 now with Long Island as well. So
yeah, that's right. So
they've got 54 down there.
So they've got 54 and Long Island. So they'll have Long Island. They've got the old. They've got the new.
And Gunnamatta.
And Gunnamatta.
And Moona.
Got the old, Moona, Gunnamatta.
Yeah.
So it just makes a lot of sense and just keeps things clean. And I know, look, I know and you know Michael Cocking's a genius. He's a fair income genius. And if they use Michael Cocking at Metropolitan as well going forward,
some issues, I know that.
It would sort a few issues for sure.
A couple of holes there.
Some of the holes, some of the work that was done, unfortunately, put Metropolitan back years and years and years. So that needs to be addressed at some stage as well. And if you're listening, folks, Michael Cocking is your man. Don't go past him. He's a superstar.
Well, that would be a fascinating bonus pod if we can pull that together. So that's a bit of homework for you, Mark, to look into. Yeah.
Yes, I'll make those calls.
Let's do it. Yeah, big weekend for Spain as well. By the way, did you see everything going on? They had.
You talking about Liv?
Well, we got Live Golf, but we also had the Euros, obviously. Yeah. Apparently the Cup's not coming home.
No.
They won't be having it. It's funny. I was messaging my old caddy Wilbur, Englishman, and he was pretty excited, very excited about how they were playing. He said, look, we didn't, we were scrappy early on in the tournament, weren't playing well, but they're showing some form. He said the only problem with the Spanish, and he predicted this, he said they're going to score at least 2, so we got to figure out somehow how to score 3, and obviously the final result was 2-1.
Did they score that second goal in the 90th minute?
No, 86.
86, so somewhere near it. Yep. So they've been in 4 finals and won 4, so good luck to them.
Not bad at all.
Then you had Alcaraz at Wimbledon.
4 finals, and he's won 4, by the way. Not at Wimbledon, but he played in 4 majors of straight sets over Djokovic.
6-2, 6-2, 7-6.
Wiped him.
Yeah.
So what happened
in
Liv?
And Raban Lahiri. Yeah, he's part of the Crushers. So he had I would say a 2.5-foot putt on the final hole for the individual win and the team win.
Oh, God.
And obviously,
Right,
I'm
so
saying a 2.5 foot putt.
He just tapped that in and put his hands in the air, I'm assuming.
Yeah. And obviously, he missed. Now, the person and the team that benefited the most was Sergio Garcia and the Fireballs.
Right.
The Spanish team, basically.
So, were there 2 playoffs?
2 playoffs going on at once. Never happened
How do they
before.
do that?
Never happened. Now, Sergio finished over on the 3rd hole, I believe, as well. So it was kind of a weird thing. As he's driving back up to the clubhouse, he knew that Lahiri had a short putt and thinking, well, it's all over, and got back there and heard the roars, and obviously he'd missed. Now, Valderrama, where it was held, because this was in Spain as well, is a course where he's won 3 times.
Yeah.
So Sergio loves the place. Obviously, it's the Spanish crowd were going nuts, and he ended up winning on the in the playoff. Might have been the 2nd playoff hole, I think it was. And then in the team event, Bryson DeChambeau ended up making bogey in the team event, which meant the Fireballs won.
Have you ever played Valderrama?
Yes.
So why is it so difficult? Because you never see the same sort of scores win at Valderrama as you do other tour stops.
Yeah, there was only 5 under 1 was the winning score. There was only, I think, 8 guys under par. And in the teams event, there's only a couple of teams under par.
So just looking at the TV, it looks like it's shoot golf. It looks like every tee shot seems to be a shoot. Why is it difficult?
So it's a course which is very tree-lined, but you could hit a fairway. You could hit the middle of the fairway and not have a direct shot to the green. It's one of those courses where the trees kind of overhang, they wind, you got slopey fairways, the greens are pretty small. It's a fascinating golf course. A lot of players don't like it. I enjoyed it because par was a good scorer around there. A good buddy of mine, Soren Keltson, always played well around there whenever he played in the final event. It used to be the season-ending tournament there. But it's just a quirky golf course that will beat you up most of the way around, and you got to take your opportunities when they come. They've got the famous 17th hole. I don't know if you remember Miguel Angel Jimenez holding his 2nd shot for an albatross.
Ridiculous.
Ridiculous. Sevi was the captain when they won the Ryder Cup there back in 97. So it just has a lot of history, and the Spanish fans love it. But it's just a brutally tough golf course. As I say, you can hit the fairway and you still don't have a shot. So you got to be able to work the ball, and obviously Sergio's one of the best at those.
Yeah, unreal.
Now we just had a beep on the voicemail, so we've got a message.
You have one new voicemail. New message.
G'day, Marco, Nick, and Third Man. It's Tim from Sorrento in WA calling. Love the show. Thanks for all your efforts. Couple of things. Noticed that the NLU boys did their podcast and named their top 10 courses, of which Royal Melbourne Composite came out at number 1 and Tahiti was in number 2. They must be listening and copying your podcast, boys. The other question I wanted to ask was in relation to club maintenance, post-game, pre-game. How often should you clean the clubs? I know, Marco, you use the sandy gloves to do the grips, but just get an understanding, maybe just to run through what needs to be done as far as keeping grooves cleaned and sharp and that sort of thing. Keep up the great work. Cheers.
Good on you, Tim.
From my old neck of the woods over there in WA. Yeah. Not in Sorrento, but I know the area.
Yeah, okay.
Good spot.
Well, it's good to know that the No Laying Up podcast boys know what they're talking about, because Royal Melbourne Composite is comfortably the best golf course in the world. And then we got
let's not start the war.
Okay. Where'd they have the King Island courses, just as a matter of interest?
I'm not sure.
Anyway, look, I'm a clean freak, so I clean my golf clubs. They are perfect every time they get put back in the bag. And these days, if you're really keen on hitting good shots, okay, you see Dustin Johnson and all kinds of players when they use their TrackMan these days with their wedges, they clean their club between shots to get accurate readings, because if your grooves are a little bit full, the ball just doesn't spin like it should. It just doesn't. Yeah. It's as simple as that.
Scottie Scheffler's got this little tool hanging off his belt that can clean the grooves that way, a little brush.
How dorky is that? I mean, could you be a bigger dork in your life?
Well, that's called Aaron Rye, who's got iron head covers and 2 gloves.
Yeah.
So.
Do you know why Aaron Rye has the iron head covers? I found this out the other day.
I think because, was it years ago, you always wanted to have a brand new set? Yes. Is that what it was about?
Yes, that's right. And his parents finally bought him a beautiful set of golf clubs, and he was just so proud of those clubs, and he didn't want to disrespect his parents, that he actually put iron covers on his irons.
Didn't want any dings in them.
Because he loved the irons and what they represented, and how hard his parents worked to get him that full set. Yeah. And he's left them on as a reminder.
There you go.
How good's that? It's a great story, actually.
Always have a wet towel hanging off the bag while you're playing. That way it makes it so easy to clean the face. A little tea, just give it a scrub, when you do chunk one or hit one a little heavy, or maybe hit one flush, because there will be some dirt in there. And then lastly, I would say, which is a bit something people don't think of, is I would say once every couple of months, give your grips a clean. Like really give them a good scrub in soapy water, bucket, because it's amazing how much dirt gets built up on your grips, depending on how much you play from the sweat or whatever, whenever you're playing the round. And that will be a big help, because I tell you what, when you have a nice sticky grip, like before every round of golf I played, Wilbur on the range, he'd have his wet towel, he'd rub all the grips down, and then he'd have a dry towel and dry them off, and it just felt so much better in my hands as soon as he'd done that.
There's a guy called Jared Toyne, and he is the golf pride man in this country.
Okay.
And he's a good bloke.
Which is the Grip Company.
The Grip Company. And
Golf Pride.
That's where I get my grips.
Okay.
He told me, we should get him on at some stage, the importance of good grips.
Yes.
He told me that they did a test at driving ranges around the world. And the really how bad grips can be.
They can be shocking.
They're shiny, they're hard.
Yep.
So what they would do, they'd show this person who's using a shiny and hard grip, and they'd put him on the machine, and then they would take that same golf club away and put a brand new grip on. Mm-hmm. And because you don't have to hold the new grip as tightly, then they showed them how much club head speed was gained.
Hitting the ball further.
And simply by putting the new grip on and not having the club, the speed of the driver head, and this is before ball speed probably, went up by 3 or 4 miles per hour. Just because you felt so much more confident holding the club, and you didn't have to hold as tight.
Incredible, isn't it?
That is. Yep. We should get Jared on at some stage.
Add him to the list, Dan.
Oh, we will. I'll tell you the other thing. If you want to get some cleaning stuff for your gear, Golf Clearance Outlet, they've got a whole bunch of stuff. Like there's heaps of stuff. There's ball cleaners, there's brushes, like 2-sided brushes and so, and you get them at amazing prices too. So definitely worth a look. It's
funny, the way you play and unfortunately the way I play these days are the two best ways to play with clean clubs, because you carry your bag, and of course when you carry your bag you've got 2 hands free, and when you hit your 7-iron onto the green and you're in the middle of walking, you can start cleaning as well, because you've got 2 hands free.
Have you got the remote?
I've got the remote control buggy these days.
Of course you do.
Bloody hell. I can't believe I've gone there, but I have. It's great. But also, because you've got 2 hands free, you can clean your clubs on the way down.
When I saw you last with your buggy and you were playing, you almost looked like you were prancing just behind it.
Yes.
It's very funny.
Well, let me tell you this, Dan. There's an old saying in golf. There is nothing like a long walk with just your putter in your hands. There's nothing like it.
Right.
All right. So you've hit the 250-metre 3-wood and the caddy just hands you your putter.
Yep.
Oh, there is no more prancing feeling in the world of golf than just standing there 250 metres away with a putter in your hand.
And you know what a worse feeling is when the caddy gives you the sand iron.
No, there's one worse.
Okay.
When he throws you the provisional.
Another ball.
So thank you, Tim, for your voicemail. If you want to leave a voicemail for Nick and Mark, you can do it. It's really easy. Go to talkbirdie2me.com.au. There's a little button that says record. You can do it on your phone. It's the easiest thing ever. Leave a message and we'll whack it on the pod, which would be good fun. And don't forget, if you want to get some cleaning gear like Tim needs, Golf Clearance Outlet is the place to go.
I'll see you on the 10th tee.
All right.
Ox and Marco, a couple of great mates with a fun podcast. And occasionally, well, let's just say, it can get a little sexy.
No, it wasn't my first pash.
Okay.
It was my first...
Early.
Emotional pash. Or the first one with feelings. In the back of a laser.
Right.
Little Ford laser gear it was too. So it had the velour seats.
First pash, I was 11 years old.
Oh, here we go. 11?
11 years old.
I didn't even know I had anything at 11.
I was on a cricket pitch.
Oh.
in Box Hill.
Don't tell me you bowled her over.
No.
Ox and Marco's Couple of Blokes podcast. Lots of fun, plenty of banter, and even the odd bit of romance. There's a new episode every Wednesday. Just search Couple of Blokes wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks for listening to Talk Birdie to me, and if you're up for it, we'd love you to subscribe, rate and share the podcast wherever you listen. And thanks to our great partners who make the show possible, Ping, they'll help you play your best, Watch My Numbers, the most powerful database golf app in the world, and the Golf Clearance Outlet. They beat everyone's prices. Now, back to Nick O'Hearn and Mark Allen.
So, Nick, just before you do your top five, somebody has sent this through to me. It's a social media thing. I'm a cart boy at Trump Bedmeister where Trump played golf today, just 16 hours after getting nearly assassinated.
Oh my God. 16
Playing
hours.
golf afterwards.
Well, it is. You know.
Well, Trumpy, he was in high spirits, which was great. Took the time to chat with a lot of the staff, allowed us to follow him for a bit. There was a decently big group with him. I imagine so. I reckon the Secret Service would be everywhere.
Yeah.
Anyway, I was able to watch him putt on the 9th green. He had about a 20-footer with probably 2-footer break. Sure enough, he drains it. And after he drained it, he said, difference between me and the shooter is that I don't miss.
Hang on, is that a joke or is that real?
No, he would have said that
Yeah, he would have
in
said
mirth
that.
to the audience that he had.
Joking about nearly being assassinated.
There you go.
Wow.
Oh, he did miss.
No.
He did miss. Anyway, time for this week's top five.
Top five.
All right.
How do you follow that?
I don't know, actually. Yeah. Well, it is Open Championship week, the British Open, as some call it. And
I call it the British Open, by the way.
Yeah, okay. I call it the Open.
I know you do.
In honour of that, we're going to go with the most memorable duels at the Open Championship.
All right.
And there'll be some, a couple of different ones here. Number 5, and this one's going to hurt Scotty because he just lost the British Open. Sorry,
Scottish Open.
Scottish Open. So you got me thinking British Open now. He just lost the Scottish Open. But remember a few years back when he had that 4-shot lead, I think. Was it a 4-shot lead with 4 to go?
It was a 4-shot lead with 4 to play.
Ernie Els.
I think Scotty went bogey 15, bogey 16, bogey 17, bogey 18.
4 bogeys.
And Ernie birdied 1 on the way in. I think he birdied 16 or 17 on the way in, and that was enough.
So the only reason that's in there is because it was a memorable duel. And thankfully for Scotty, just after that, he ended up winning the Masters.
Thank God.
Thank goodness.
Thank God.
Number 4, this was one of the most fascinating duels for me. I remember at Royal Birkdale back in 2017, Jordan Spieth and Matt Kuchar were going back and forth.
Yeah.
It was a scrappy front nine that they played, and Spieth hit one of the widest shots you'll ever see on that back nine. You remember he hit it almost down on a driving range.
Got the crazy drop.
Made the best bogey you've ever seen. And then just lit it up coming in and ended up beating Kuchar. It was a fascinating finish.
There should be a plaque for that bogey. That's a plaqueable bogey.
I wonder if, you missed out the top 5 last week. I can't wait for feedback, by the way.
Remind me next week, and I'll do my top 5 plaqueable bogeys.
Please don't. All right. Well, that's number 4. Number 3, we go all the way back to 1984 at the home of golf. Seve Ballesteros and Tom Watson, the iconic fist pump by Seve. Yeah, and Watson was up against the wall. Remember that over the back of 17 on the road hole.
That's right. And I remember Watson too. He had to hole his final shot to the 72nd green to get in the playoff, and he walked up to the green to check out the break.
Well, you got to read it if you're going to try and hole it for sure.
Should have had his caddy tend the flag as well.
I love it. Anyway, that was number 3. Number 2. It's hard to separate these top 2 because one of them has a very famous name, and I'm going to go with the Henrik Stenson and Phil Mickelson duel.
Which one?
Well, Mickelson won a few years earlier in Murfield, and the runner-up was Stenson, but it's the one at Royal Troon where the venue is this time, and they streeted the field basically, and Stenson ended up just lighting it up over the weekend.
What did he shoot in the last day? It was 8 under?
It was something ridiculous.
Shot 8 under.
But over the weekend, those two, Daylight was third.
It was one of the best rounds in the history of the Open Championship.
Yeah, it was.
It really was.
So that's number 2, and obviously number 1 will be the duel in the sun. Jack Nicklaus and Tom Watson at Turnberry, 1977. What a duel it was, because they just went back and forth. And if you ever get on YouTube, watch the final hole where I think Watson had a 1-shot lead. Yep. Nicklaus drives it under these bushes on the right, and you're thinking he's got no chance. No shot. Somehow he hacks it to 40 feet front edge. Watson stiffs it to 3 feet. Nicklaus drains it.
Yeah.
Drains the putt, whereas Watson now has to hole a 3-footer. He does it pretty quickly, by the way. I think he just wanted to get it over and done with.
40-footer that he holed, it had 6-footer break.
It was insane.
It had 6-footer break and he knocked it in.
Yeah, and I love the image afterwards. They're walking off the green. He's got his arm around him and he said something to him like, I threw my best at you, you son of a bitch.
That's exactly what he said. I gave you my best, you son of a bitch.
Yeah, I love it.
Isn't that great?
Now, are you serious about top 5 pluckable bogeys?
Yep.
Oh, God knows.
I'll get it done.
Please.
I'll get it done.
I tell you what, unbelievable.
Just remind me.
Now, we had an incident last week on the podcast.
I wonder what that was.
The incident was you trying to crack a joke, Mark, and it was terrible.
Now listen, there's nothing wrong with that joke. Elvis Presley's 2 favourite months are February, March.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we have had some feedback. We're going to get to that a little later on.
Come on.
So we'll see what people thought about
Righto.
it. But we had a lot of comments on our chat with James Sutherland, the bonus pod last week, which if you haven't listened to it, it's worth going back and listening to. He was really good and I thought quite open under what have been some difficult circumstances.
Well, it was interesting to get the backstory.
Yeah, it's a good
It was
conversation.
very interesting.
It really was. Dale said the complexity of the whole thing was understandable given the time it took to finalise it. Nothing could be done, but I would hate personally to think the future is having separate events. It's not about the integrity of the event or its history. It's about growing the sport as a whole.
Well, I disagree with that completely. I think our 2 biggest tournaments in this country, which is the men's and the women's Australian Opens, integrity is the most important thing. You cannot have situations where people who are on the same score on the weekend are hitting off 5 hours apart. You just can't. That can't happen. So I put the integrity of our biggest events well and truly above growing the game, and I don't think growing the game should be our motto either. I think making golf better should be the motto of Golf Australia. Don't worry, golf's not for everybody. Not everybody's got 5 hours like us, who are here and people listening. You don't. Not everybody has the capability of playing golf. Not everybody likes golf. Golf's not for everybody. But if Golf Australia made golf better, just make it better, the game will look after itself.
Make golf better again.
Make golf better.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's the National Open, and to your point, Mark, it was like Bobby MacIntyre winning the Scottish Open. That's the most important event for him in his entire career, other than the 4 majors, and I think that's how we feel about it as professional golfers too.
Yeah, and I'll give you another thing. This is just on last year, so don't worry about Adam Scott potentially finishing out and winning an Australian Open on the 9th green, because in this country we don't have the camera numbers. We miss seeing that shot. So that shot should be an integral part of the broadcast. Here is Adam Scott. He's on fire. And on his 3rd last hole, he hits it out of bounds.
Out of bounds, yeah.
Not only do we not have the capability of showing 2 tournaments at once because we just don't have the cameras, we don't have the money, but we're missing those shots on the broadcast. So, to me, the integrity of the tournament is not just about the fairness on Saturday and Sunday, but it's almost also the integrity of showing both stories of whoever wins correctly on the TV.
Yeah. Another message on the podcast with James from Swingmate. Great pod. Interesting that it's economically challenging to raise prize money for the Oz Open when golf is supposedly thriving. And Golf Australia have increased annual revenue from $12 million in 2015 to $44 in 2023. Yet the Open prize money has only increased from 1.25 to 1.7 over that same period.
Yes, it's a good pickup. And if we had another podcast with James, we'd ask him that question for sure.
Bradley Zerner has said, the Australian Open is a joke. Why combine them? Men and women deserve their own competition, not to share, not to mention it only being on the eastern states.
Yeah. Look, if I had the keys to the tournaments around the country, then the Vic Open, what they've done with the men and women really works. And because because before they had that tournament, there was no Victorian Open, you wear the integrity issues. Because what would you choose? Tournaments with integrity issues or no tournaments? Well, of course, I'm picking let's play for some trophies this week. If that happened right around the country, then, I think it would be very well supported at that level, but not our 2 biggest.
Yeah,
not the 2 biggest.
Opens, yeah.
State Opens, no worries, not our 2 biggest. currently, I think if the state, I think New South Wales Open, magically, well done to them. $800,000.
Become our third biggest event.
That is well done to New South Wales. Whatever you guys are doing, congratulations. Sensational. Just for the men? Yeah, it is, just for the men. But in South Australia and Perth, Queensland, if you're having trouble, investigate the men and women playing together. Because if you can do what the Vic Open's done down here, then they're better tournaments.
A couple of comments on the James podcast. And the reason I want to do a few here is because we had about 30 or 40 or 50 comments. There was a lot of feedback on it, so I want to give a good cross-section. Brett Wiley said, I was hoping they could work with Liv and align the Oz Open the week before or after Liv Adelaide to encourage the Liv golfers to partake for World Golf Ranking points and enhance the field in the Open.
Yeah, that would be something. I mean, if you could get some of those Liv players, that would mean moving it obviously into that, I think they're going into the February time frame for Liv. Now, that's a big issue for a lot of our stars, especially coming back from America. But you would make that up with the Liv players. So there's a fine balance between it all. Personally, I like the November dates myself.
No, I hate the November.
I know you do, yeah. But
it's the worst thing to happen in Australian golf is that November date.
When I played, my schedule ran out around October or so. I'd come home and it just fit in beautifully.
Perfect. That's right. Yeah, that's right.
Andrew G has said, it is sad to see the demise of our National Open. They both deserve their own airtime, and it's sad to see that only 84 women will compete for this year's National Open, and they're taking a backseat to the men. They should realign the women's with the LPGA and resurrect it to the world-class event that it once was.
Yes, and Adelaide loved it, and unfortunately now Adelaide have got Liv. So
I don't think they're saying unfortunately.
No, they're not. So if it's going to be an LPGA event again, which is the best players coming down in February, then they need to align themselves with another state government.
Yep.
I don't think, maybe Adelaide would do too in February, but probably not with the amount of money they put into the Liv event. But if West Australia or Queensland or New South Wales or Victoria get their act together and support an US LPGA event, wow.
Yeah, it'd be no brainer in Sydney, I think.
Please.
So, final comment on the James Sutherland podcast, bonus pod from Andrew Pryor. Great episode. It was refreshing to hear an open discussion on the challenges facing Golf Australia. Nice one to finish on.
Good on you.
Now on the Ryder Cup, this is from Luke. I woke to the news of Keegan Bradley's appointment as the US Ryder Cup captain. After first thinking it was a hoax, it seems to be true.
Yeah.
Nick and Marco, what do you think about this appointment, and what do you think about how it was handled? Because I believe Tiger apparently said no, and do you think it will work out? I feel the Europeans will not be too worried.
I actually like this captaincy, this appointment. Tiger, yes, did say he wasn't going to do it, mainly because of his time commitments, I guess, to the other stuff that's going on with the PIF.
I reckon he wants to play, Nick.
Well, I don't think he can, to be honest.
No chance.
Will he get a captain's pick? Probably, but anyway, Keegan is so passionate about the Ryder Cup. We obviously saw that in the Full Swing series, and knowing him, he just loves representing America. Plus, the other thing is he went to university about an hour away in St. John's. He's the youngest, I think, captain since Arnold Palmer, who was 34 when he was a player captain. Now, Keegan wants to be a player captain, which is interesting. And the other side of that is Rory has turned down being a captain in 2027 because he said, look, I don't think a player should captain the team, or a captain shouldn't play. So you got to do one or you got to do the other, and he's actually already turned down 2027. He's thinking 3 years ahead. So it'll be interesting to see how it all unfolds, but I like the choice. It's good.
Payback.
Last week you guys spoke about renovation of golf courses and whether you should do them 6 holes at a time, 9 holes, or the whole thing at once.
We did the poll.
And we put a poll up. Give the results of the poll in a second. We had a couple of comments on it. Dale said, I'm a 6-holer, but it used to happen in 3s, and we had a 36-hole course.
Wow.
That's 12 stages.
Why wouldn't you do one course and then the other course?
I don't know. It's a long time. P.S. Marco, I didn't get the joke.
There you go.
February, March.
What was the poll results, by the way?
That in 1 second.
Okay.
One more comment. We had a message from Peter Barnes. Now, Peter Barnes is the treasurer at Commonwealth, and he wrote in and said, look, it can't be done. He said you can't shut the whole thing down at once, and he gave a whole bunch of reasons.
Hang on a second, Victoria Golf Club did.
Well, he's not saying you can't do it. He's saying there's ramifications of doing it.
Sure.
No, what he's saying is that Commonwealth can't do it. That's what he's saying. It can be done, but at his club, it couldn't be done. And we get that, but of course it can be done.
There's reasons.
So here's what he said. He said, all the pain is taken at once, but there's a much larger financial impact. It's a very hard sell to members, huge impact on staff. He said, from his point of view, much higher risk.
Okay.
Yeah, well, we get that, and I understand your point of view. And at the Commonwealth Golf Club, that may well be a fact, but I much prefer what Victoria Golf Club did.
Poll results. 6 holes, 9 holes, all holes at the same time. 22% of people said renovate 6 holes at a time.
Okay.
30% said do 9 holes at a time.
Goodness me.
48% do the whole thing.
Do the whole thing.
Oh, at least the majority get it.
All right.
Do the whole thing. Now, the joke.
Oh.
The joke.
Yeah, give me some feedback.
We gave people a heads up and an apology online. We wanted to apologise on socials for what they were about to put themselves through. Unfortunately, Lee didn't see the apology before he listened to the podcast, and he said, "Your heads up is a little bit too late for those of us who had to suffer through that joke already."
I think you need to release an official statement, Mark.
Yeah. Muttonhead has said, "I still found myself saying February much all day, even though that joke was terrible."
Thank you.
Daryl has said, "Mark, keep up the humour. I love it."
Thank you.
Wayne has said, "I laughed. Nick, get a sense of humour."
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
Get a sense of humour.
So you copped a whack there.
Yeah.
And this one from Adam. Mark, I'd like you to read this one out if you wouldn't mind. That one there from Adam.
From Adam _CF. Elvis agrees with Mark that the Australian Open should be moved to February, March. Yes, Adam. I'll have a beer with you anytime you like,
that.
Adam.
Yeah. Now, by the way, Coffs Harbour update on Eden with the situation that was going on.
With the young girl who wasn't allowed to play because she was too young.
Yeah, so we wanted to have a bonus podcast, and we still like to, with the guys from the golf club up there to find out what's going on. Mm-hmm. Just so you know, I have emailed the president of the club 3 times.
Yep.
And now the men's captain and the ladies' captain as well.
Right.
Okay.
0 response so far.
Oh.
Now, maybe they're away on holidays. Maybe they're not checking emails. I don't know. But either way, we had no response. But the invitation remains open. We'd like to get them on.
So they're not returning anything?
Well, not yet, but they might be away. So, you want to assume good intent here.
I bet they don't.
Oh.
Well,
It's
if we want to
get, it's fine.
I bet they don't.
we'd like to get them on. We'd love to have a bit of a chat. Some music in the background. We know what they're playing.
Yes, this week's Ping Global results. We had a couple of majors going on. One on the women's side, the Evian Championship there in France, where the week started out with Nelly Corder coming back after a dog bite.
Yes, that's right.
She, which sort of fascinated me. Yeah, she's been a bit under the walls. But
Did she get rabies?
She did make the cut.
Oh, good on her.
She did make the cut because she'd missed the previous 3 cuts in a row. It's a fascinating finish to the tournament because a skydiver comes in as the national anthem of the winners being played, and he presents the winner with their national flag, which was Japan's Ayaka Furue.
That's nice.
Yeah, that's an interesting little tradition they've got going there. Steph Kyriacou, what a performance, was the 54-hole leader, just got pipped at the post. Unfortunately, that final hole eagle by Furue got the best of her. The rest of the Australasians, Lydia Ko tied for 39th, Hannah Green 44th, Minjee Lee 49th, Grace Kim 51st, and Gabby Ruppels 55th. So really, it was all Steph Kyriacou. She was the standout, and they're all waiting beside the green there for her, which was great, hoping that she might be able to get doused in champagne, but turned out to be sake, I guess, with the, with the Japanese winner. On the PGA Tour, we had the Scottish Open, where earlier in the week I saw Rory McIlroy defending his caddy Harry about everything that happened at the US Open a few weeks ago. It was his first tournament back, and he played very well. It's pretty impressive, actually, to come back from what he was. Earlier in the week as well, this is fascinating, Tom Kim had to ask for a sponsor's exemption because his management and him forgot to enter.
Oh, you're kidding.
Have you ever done that?
Never. Have I forgot to enter anything?
Yeah,
No,
neither
never.
have I. I mean, I always entered myself and never got management. But a lot of the players, they get their agents to enter them into the tournament. There is a deadline, and they rang Tom and said, Tom, we screwed up. You're not in the tournament, so they ended up getting him a sponsor's invite.
Do you reckon someone's got fired over that, or at least given a serious warning?
Probably a yellow card, I'd say.
It's interesting what you just said there. It is a good habit to get into when you're a professional golfer, to enter yourself.
Yeah. and it's very simple. It takes 2 seconds. Just log into PGA Tour links and click,
bang,
away
bang.
you go.
It's
So
done.
anyway, but Bobby MacIntyre, what a win. winning his National Open unfortunately, from our perspective, Adam Scott, who finished second. Rory McIlroy was in a host of 5 others, including Ludvig, tied for 4th.
I'm not forgiving you, Ludvig.
Well,
that's a bad loss.
Hey, at least his odds go back up for you, Mark, for next week. So,
okay.
But those memories of that back 9 might play into it.
Mate, Horning.
Of the rest of the Australasians, Cam Davis tied for 26th, Daniel Hillier 46th, Ryan Fox 53rd, and Minwoo Lee made the cut but finished 73rd in the end. Also on the PGA Tour, they had a what do you call it? And an aligned event over there in the US.
A secondary event this week.
Yeah, the ISCO Championship in Kentucky, where there was a 5-way playoff between Pearson Coody, Harry Hall, Matt Naismith, Zach Blair, and Rico Hoey. Rico Hoey had the best chance to win in regulation, had a wedge in and ended up knocking it over the back into a hazard and made bogey. Harry Hall, in the end, though,
good on you, Harry.
Chipped in on the 3rd playoff hole, and to add to that, he's becoming a dad next week as well. So
gee whiz.
Great win for the Englishmen. The Aussies, the only one to make the cut, and the lowest cut I've ever seen on the PGA Tour, by the way.
Was it 7 under, 6 under?
8 under.
8 under cut.
So you've shot 70.
Oh,
there we go.
That's the hotline.
That's the hotline.
You mind if we take it, Nick?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay.
Talk birdie to me hotline.
G'day, Marco, Nick, you there?
Yes, we're here.
Timmy Garrett here, calling from Canberra.
Good on you, Tim.
I just had a quick question. Not against him as a player or person or anything, but how does a guy like Aaron Baddeley stay on the tour? You know, he hasn't won in, 8 years. He doesn't really feature in top 10s. I'm in a fantasy league. He doesn't feature much in that, but still seems to be earning a very good living and has had a pretty good career. So just wondering the minutiae of the point system and how it all actually works.
Well, I mean, every year they have the top 125 players keep the card. Now with the FedEx Cup, they have the points going, obviously. So he's always been a bit more of a fringe player these days, I guess. He's around that 100 mark, maybe just a little bit higher than that. And every now and then he pops in a good finish. We see him in those secondary events. Funnily enough, we were just doing our Ping Global results as you rang, and we're talking about a secondary event where Bads did make the cut, actually, but he did finish well back. So... and then there's these categories. Every now and then you can get a past champions invite into a tournament, and he may play well in those when he gets those invites. But he's probably right on the bubble every year. It's a pretty stressful place to be in.
It's funny, Tim. If you back in the old days, if you weren't the torpedo in swimming, if you were just next to him, you probably didn't make any money because swimming's one of those sports. But golf, it is incredible. Like Cameron Percy, I reckon I always say this name. Cameron Percy has played on the PGA Tour for 20 years, basically, for 25 years. He just seems to manage to get into that top 120 it is these days, and maybe creep inside the top 100. Just keeps on doing it. And if you do that, one, you don't lose your card or your job, but two, you still make plenty of cash. He might be, his taxable income in the end might be $500,000 after expenses. I don't know. US we're
not
talking
bad.
about. Yeah, it's not bad.
Yeah, plus he's got 6 kids to support in Bads, so he needs to keep playing.
Got to keep playing. He's got to keep playing.
And that doesn't change with Live Golf. Were they changing the top 125 with sort of the competing tour?
No, that hasn't changed at all. So these, like Nick said, used to be the top 125 money earners, but these days with the FedEx Cup and the finals there, if you get into that first week, you've done enough to have a job next year.
Yeah, now it's about being, top 50, I think, for the signature events.
Yep.
There's a top 70, and then
Yep.
if you're in that 70 to or 50 to 125 category or something like that, I think then you've got a job for the following year. And then they have all these other categories where you may get limited starts, things like that.
And Monday qualifying as well.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
I think Aaron Baddeley, he did lose his card there at one stage, but he Monday qualified, did well, past champions, did well, and did just enough to get his card for the following season, and he's parlayed that into about 4 more years.
Tim, where do you play your golf, mate?
Canberra, Belconnen Golf Course.
Oh, hey,
Royal Belconnen Golf Course.
how's Royal Canberra looking these days?
Now, good. When my in-laws come over, I get to access that. And because I've had kids, my membership lapsed, and I want to keep my handicap, so I've joined one of these sort of Social Golf Australia to maintain my handicap.
Oh, fantastic.
And that allows me to sort of plan a comp like once a year, or if my mate's got a spare slot, I can play still. And So when the kids get a bit older and I get the missus allows me to get the membership back, I can sort of continue on, which I think is good. But some courses sort of knock me back, of playing in the comp, which I don't think is. I can't abuse it, obviously, but yeah.
I'm glad you still kept your handicap. And Golf Australia, you know, if you're in Tim's boat, go to golfaustralia.com.au or just Google Golf Australia. You'll find out how to get your handicap the same way Tim has. It's a good system.
Brilliant.
All right, cheers, boys. Thanks. Bye.
Now, back to the Ping Global results, Nick.
We do
when the hotline rings, the hotline rings.
Well, for our listeners, we do anything, absolutely. Yeah, that was Harry Hall winning there in Kentucky, the secondary event on the PGA Tour. Aaron Baddeley, as I mentioned, tied for 59th. Over there in Spain, Liv Andalusia at Valderrama. It was a Spanish sweep with the Fireballs winning the team event and Sergio Garcia getting another win around that historic golf course. The Aussies, Team Ripper, finished tied for 4th, so just off the podium, unfortunately. Best of them was Cam Smith, tied 6th. Leash tied for 10th. Lucas Herbert, 35th, and Matt Jones tied for 45th. On the Corn Ferry Tour, they're in Colorado, where Chilean Cristobal del Sol had a 4-shot win. Carl Phillips managed to qualify for the event and get in. He finished tied for 13th.
Good on you, Carl.
Good result for him.
First up.
On the Epsom Tour, they're in Connecticut, where Daniela Iacobelli, I think that's how you say it. Daniela Iacobelli had a 1-shot win over another American, Amelia Lewis. Cassie Porter was the best of the Aussies, tied for 19th. On the Champions Tour, they're at Firestone Golf Club in Akron, Ohio.
What happened to our man who played so well on Saturday?
Michael Wright. He was unconscious, apparently. He said he blacked out because he was in the zone, basically. He couldn't remember what scores he was had to write down. That's a good place to be in.
That's a common thing when you're playing really, really well. Yeah. How many times were you in that zone to where you couldn't remember what happened?
Probably about half a dozen. Yeah. Half a dozen where I thought, what hole are we on? Yeah. I don't even know how many under I am anymore.
Only once, me.
Really?
Just once. And I had to talk to my caddy after the round to remember if it was right.
The problem is, while you're in that zone, if you start thinking about, gee, I'm in the zone, well, then you're out of it because you've started thinking about it. So, you never actually know when you're in it. That's
why you don't want your caddy to say anything to you. Just to sit tight and just go along for the ride.
But this was the equivalent of their senior players championship, basically. It is a major on the Champions Tour. Ernie Els had a 1-shot win over Y.E. Yang. Michael Wright, who we mentioned was going along so well, had a rough finish on the final round, but he ended up finishing tied for 7th along with Steve Orker. He was actually, Michael Wright was an alternate on Wednesday. He was waiting to get into the golf tournament, and now he finishes a top 10, so a great result for him. Cam Percy tied 11th, Mark Hensby tied 14th, and Richard Green and Stuart Appleby tied for 17th, were the best of the rest of the Aussies.
Beauty.
On the Legends Tour, they had the Swiss Senior Open, where Jarmo Sanderlin, that quirky Swede, had a 1-shot win over Bradley Dredge. Jarmo, we were talking about spikes earlier. He made these cowboy boots and he put nails through the bottom and they were his spikes for the golf shoes.
That's
he was
correct.
an interesting character.
And by the way, if you've got nothing to do, Google Jarmo Sanderlin sunglasses and you're going to see some stuff that you just can't believe.
The worst ever. Yeah. Best of the Aussies was Jason Norris, tied for 15th. And finally, they had the US Adaptive Open going on in Kansas. Been in touch with Lachlan Wood.
Is that all abilities, is it?
It's the all abilities, basically. On the men's side, Kim Poppet had a 4-shot win. Our own Aussie Lachlan Wood finished 10th.
Good on you, Lockie.
And then on the women's side, Ping's American golfer Bailey Bish. That's a good name. Bailey Bish had a 4-shot win in the women's division as well. So congratulations to Bailey and Kip in their US Adaptive Open wins. Incredible.
All right, time for the masterclass. Thanks to the new Watch My Numbers app. If you haven't downloaded it yet, you can get it from the App Store or Google Play. You can play smarter by using your data.
So, Royal Troon this week. I haven't seen the green speeds and I haven't heard about the stimp meter readings this week. But generally speaking, you're putting on slower greens.
A little slower.
Yeah. So, this week it's all about how you do it on slower greens. Now, if you watch the golf like I do and listen to some people who come back from there, there's this new thing on the PGA Tour, and it's inspired by Tiger Woods and others like him, that they have shorter follow-throughs than what most people think you should do. Mm-hmm. So when you watch Tiger putt, it's noticeable how much shorter his follow-through is than a normal person putting. This makes it very, very easy to stay still. And that's why when you go back and watch Tiger putt back in the old days, he stays so still. He stays more still. His body is so still. His head is so still than pretty much everybody else. Now, when you go to slower greens, what people try and do is they have the same backswing length and then they go like hell trying to get the ball to the hole.
Yeah.
And that doesn't work. It doesn't work well. So if you find yourself on slower greens, like a lot of the players will this week at Royal Troon, it's all about just making your backswing length a little bit longer. And while you're at it, try the shorter follow-through. So
more of a pop stroke.
Yeah, almost, but not quite.
A bit like Gary Player. He used to have that.
That was a real
one,
pop.
wasn't it? Yeah.
And who was the other bloke who had the pop stroke?
Well, Snedeker.
Snedeker. Yeah. They had some real pop strokes, but they're very different from Ian Baker Finch and Tiger Woods, who just had a shorter follow-through. That's all it was. So while you're at it, if you are the sort of person who has had trouble putting, trying to keep your head still, well, when you shorten your follow-through, so when you have a longer backswing and a shorter follow-through, not a short follow-through, but a shorter follow-through, it's very easy to keep your head still. Much easier. I played with a couple of guys on the weekend, Roger and Jack, and I was watching those guys putt, and when they do their practice swings, it's very natural to have a shorter follow-through. When they do their putting strokes, when they actually hit the ball, you can see their shoulders tearing through the impact zone. It makes it really hard to keep still. Anyway, a lot of players on the tour are doing it. Maybe you should do it too. And you're going to see a lot of players with longer backstrokes this week at Royal Troon with the slower greens.
What you'll never see with a good putter is a short backstroke and a long follow-through.
Correct, Wade.
The best ones either match it or they have a long to short, if anything.
That's it.
Yeah, I love that. Especially on slower greens.
Especially on slower greens.
Fun episode, boys. Looking forward to some information, hopefully, on the merger that you're talking about.
Oh, yeah.
That'd be great.
Can't wait.
All the dinging you've been hearing in the background is people wanting to get on. So we'll talk about Metro and Huntingdale and the intricacies and difficulties hopefully soon.
Beautiful. And lastly, the Challenger PGA Tour of Australasia schedule just came out as well for the remainder of the year here on our local scene. So can't wait to get stuck into those tournaments, Mark.
Good on you guys.
See you guys.
Cheers.
And thanks for listening to Talk Birdie, Simi. We appreciate you listening and getting involved. And a huge thanks to our fantastic partners. Without them, the show just wouldn't be the same. Watch my numbers. Download the app and turn your bogeys into birdies by analysing and improving your game like never before. The Golf Clearance Outlet. Awesome prices on great gear. You can see them in Melbourne, Sydney, Brizzy, Perth, and online at golfclearanceoutlet.com.au. And Ping. See your local golf shop or professional to arrange a Ping Club fitting. They'll help you play your best. If Ping's good enough for Nick O'Hearn, well, that says it all. And we'd love you to get involved with the show. You can leave a voicemail with any comments or questions at talkbirdie2me.com.au or send an email or comment on the socials. And if you can share the pod with a friend, well, we'd love that. Talk Birdie to Me's executive producer is Dan Bradley at Kaizen Media. Sound design, Daryl Misson at loudzebra.com.